So this is a vlog that we were not looking forward to doing at all.
So this was supposed to be a vlog about how beautiful Agua Verde is, and our plans changed very quickly. Alright guys, we are currently on an interesting adventure right now. So we've read a lot of reviews from iOverlander, and it seems like we need a 4x4 vehicle to get to our next destination. But we've also talked to people in person, and they've said that we can get there in our two-wheel drive Sprinter.
Yep, and that was coming from somebody who had a really tricked out four-wheel drive Sprinter. So I'm going to take his word for it if he didn't need four-wheel drive.
So we're gonna go check it out. We may or may not get there, but part of the fun is usually, the adventure to try and get there. We tend to take our Sprinter on a lot of roads that people say, oh, you only need 4x4. So we have a lot of confidence.
So far we haven't gotten stuck.
You haven't even had to air down our tires yet since we've been in Baja.
No, and we've only ever got stuck in our van once, and that was in soft sand. And we had a feeling that might happen, and it did, but we got out.
So, let's see if we can get to our next destination.
Let's go.
So we just turned down the road to Puerto Agua Verde, and from what we've read, it's about 7 or 8 miles of paved highway until we get to the gravel/sand section. So far after the road turned from pavement to dirt, we just have a bunch of really chunky gravel, some washboard, but so far no problemo, just take it slow.
So we are coming up the dirt road on the way to Agua Verde, and so far it's a graded gravel road. It's a little bumpy in spots, but nothing to get too excited or worry about. But we're coming up over the montañas and it's starting to get a little twisty, and we're starting to get a little view of the Sierra Cortez, and I had to stop and share this because this is unbelievable.
It looks like a postcard. It is so flat today. It looks gorgeous.
Objects in the vessel may have shifted during transit on this one. Reminds me of the Moki Dugway, actually.
It does, but we drove up it instead of down it. If you guys haven't checked out that video, we did a video of the Moki Dugway and Valley of Gods, and it was beautiful. That's in Utah, so check that out.
This is the RV defeater right here.
Yeah.
Somehow they'd still make it. It's a little bumpy.
So this last section of road is very twisty, turny, and bumpy, and there's places where you can tell that water has definitely washed it out, so you definitely have to take your time. We're in first gear, still braking a ton. I think that this would be a road that would definitely weed out any of the RVers or vehicles that are probably longer than 20, 22 feet.
Probably, but she said that quite a few times before in our adventures, and they still get there.
But this road is definitely a lot more intense than any of the other roads we've taken so far in Baja. Look at those mountains. I know when you're in Baja, you should be looking at the ocean, but I can't stop looking at these mountains. They're so gorgeous. This feels like the road going down into Lake Atitlan. It's half cement, half dirt, all broken up.
Uh-oh.
What? Uh-oh. I got the cross. See those lot on these crazy roads. So that point all the way out there is where we're trying to get to. That is Agua Verde. He's just gonna gun it. The difference between someone that's been on the road before versus someone that hasn't.
Well, we're having the right vehicle.
Or having the proper vehicle for the road. So I didn't look at the exact time when we turned down this junction to get out to Agua Verde, but Wiley thinks it was around 2 o'clock. It is now 10 to 5 and we're still driving on these dirt roads and still have about 7.6 kilometers to get all the way to Agua Verde. It's definitely a commitment to come down here, so I think if anyone plans on coming down here, you should definitely have the provisions for at least 3-4 days, because if you're gonna drive that long to get down here, you might as well enjoy it for a little bit.
So this is the bay we were thinking about staying tonight if we wanted to call it quits, but we decided to keep going, and now that we got the view from above, we got to go check that out. So that is now on the list for on the way home.
Alright, so what are we thinking so far about this drive?
Takes a little bit, just got to go slow and easy, and you'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's actually pretty scenic if you
It
don't
is.
mind all the bumps.
Yeah.
It's a little bumpy. That's okay.
We got nothing but time. Until April 1st. I don't know, these views just keep on getting crazier and crazier. So pretty. This is a long 5.5 kilometers. Like the minutes are not going down.
Boom. Please explain these rocks that jut out from the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So cool. Shit.
Uh-oh. I don't want to be that guy.
No. I mean, we literally made it like 99.37% of the way. We're 100, maybe 200 feet away from where we're trying to sleep for the night. So, hopefully we'll make it. Stay tuned.
Well, if it isn't obvious, we found the beach and we started driving on it. And we didn't air down because,
We haven't had to yet.
we haven't had to yet. And I slowly lost traction, and now I can't move forward or backwards, so we're airing down so we can get to our camp spot.
Hopefully. First of all, check out this beach. Like, it's beautiful. I'm glad we got here with a little light still, seeing how we're technically stuck right now. But most of the people that are on this section of the beach are all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. But the white van that was down there is two-wheel drive, so they managed to get down there. We're, I wouldn't say stuck, but I think airing down the tires was definitely a good idea. And we shall see.
We're going to aim for the corner fence post. We're going to swing it a little bit toward the palapa, and we're going
Alright,
to call it a day.
let's see.
We got some people willing to help us out if it doesn't work out.
And these guys are hoping we're like gonna get stuck, basically. Oh, that's so deep. Ah, alright. That's better than I thought he was gonna do, yeah.
So we made it to Agua Verde last night. As you saw, we got stuck in the sand, or almost stuck in the sand. I was smart enough to know that I was going to get stuck if I didn't get out and air down my tires. But that, of course, caused a little bit of a spectacle on the beach. I had people coming over from all angles trying to see if I was stuck, seeing if they could help me get unstuck or if I wanted to pay to get unstuck, which was not happening. It was,
Making bets if you weren't gonna get more stuck.
oh yeah, and then they were making bets about if I was gonna make it out or not. All I had to do was air down the tires to about 20 psi, and I rolled right out and drove right up to my parking spot like nothing happened. So that is the key. We knew that, should have done that before we got on the beach, but we were happily looking for our parking spot and forgot to air down. So it's all good. Now we're having some breakfast. What do we got?
Mine's almost gone, but we got these mystery pastries in Loreto yesterday. They're either chocolate pudding filled or fruit filled. And then we just have bagels, cream cheese, and an apple. So today, at low tide, we're gonna try and go over to the beach that we're trying to park at to just check it out, see if it's doable for the rig. And there's also cool little caves on the other side of the bay. So I think we're gonna have a fun time exploring this area for at least 3-4 nights.
So we are walking up the road and we are checking out the high-level overview of the town. So you can see that it has some residential houses, it's got 2 churches, it's got a store, it's got 2 restaurants that we are aware of. One of them is right on the beach, so I think they're the hot spot. But it's a small, quaint, cute little town, long way off the main Route 1 for sure. And that actually is what makes this so nice, because there's not that many people on the beach, there's not that many people coming and going, and that's the way we like it. So now we're gonna walk up the street, the road, because there's another small road going down to the point Agua Verde, I believe is what it is. And there's definitely people over on that beach. It looks like a really neat spot to camp, and we probably would have went there first if we knew we could make it. So this is a scouting mission to see if the road is doable in our 2-wheel drive Sprinter, which so far everything that we've done, we've been fine, minus our little hiccup last night, but that was easy stuff. So this one we heard can be a challenge. So we're gonna go check it out and we'll let you know. So after you crest the top, it does go back down a little bit, and then I see it's going up again right in front of us, and then I'm thinking we're seeing some beach.
Yeah, this beach is pretty dreamy.
So here's the beach we're walking to. Here's the beautifully calm bay, and then all the way back there is the beach we came from, which really isn't that far. So we're approaching the bottom, and just to give you an idea how steep it is when we look back up, I don't know if the camera shows it well, but I've never driven up anything that steep yet. To be continued. Don't want to be the gringos that get stuck on that hill, but we wouldn't mind being in this nice calm bay.
See, I definitely have bay envy right now. So the cool thing is, in low tide, I have access to this beach, so even if we can't drive over here, I can walk over here and then go snorkeling.
Yep, so we're walking along the seawall, and because the water's down, there's plenty of runway, I think, to walk all the way back.
It's pretty cool how the waves have eroded this over time. You don't notice this when it's high tide. And it's all the mosaic rock like we saw in Death Valley.
And we're almost back to the beach that we're staying on. So I think we're gonna continue this walk back to the beach, check up on Maisha, and then I think we worked up an appetite for some lunch.
So we basically have a favorite dog at every single beach, and this is the favorito. This is Beethoven. He is the shop owner's dog, and he comes down here for lovin's.
And he is quite demanding when he wants his loving.
He's very cute.
He steps on you and climbs all over you, so you pet him.
I mean, we don't mind because Maisha's just here chilling and doesn't want pets anyway, so we'll borrow Beethoven. Wiley is just pumping up his board. I'll start pumping up my board. We had a little bit of a rough night last night. Maisha is not feeling good. So she's just stretching out and we're gonna relax today. Not sure if, because it took us 3.5 hours to get down to Agua Verde, down to the beach, if maybe that kind of stressed her out because it was a rough road, but she was fine when we got here the night we got here, and like mid-morning. And then in the afternoon we went over to the restaurant that's on the beach, and she just didn't want to get up, so that made us a little nervous. And then when she was sleeping last night, she wasn't moving around like she normally does, so I think her legs and hips might be a little sore from that ride, so that might be something we have to think about for the rest of this trip. Maybe limit the amount of off-road stuff we do, because we want to keep her as comfortable as possible with her getting older. We don't want to stress her out. She's here to have a good time too, so we're just keeping an eye on her today and making sure she starts to feel better. So there is quite the waves to get out past the break, and I didn't do it successfully. I got soaking wet, my board flipped over, and I caught the wave just right that it brought me all the way back to shore, and then I had to paddle back out. So this is an amazing beach, and if you're two-wheel drive, you can definitely make it to this beach. But if you're four-wheel drive, you can make it to the Point Beach. And the Point Beach, the way the bay is set, it's always calm over there, so it's a little bit more ideal for the paddleboarding, at least to get out into the ocean. But it makes for a challenge, and it makes it fun. But Wiley, as he came out, we finally got past the like where the waves were breaking, and I noticed that his water bottle and his shoes were gone, so he lost both of those. So I just sent him back to the beach to hopefully retrieve those, and then he's gonna paddle back out. So our plan originally was to go out to that rock, but some of these swells are pretty sizable. This guy went into the drink after he went over one of those swells. I'm down in kayak mode because I just know I'll fall. He's still standing. So I think we're just gonna hit this point and then come back along the shore, see what we can find. What do you think of this one today? Paddleboarding here.
Got some rollers out there. Might have went in the drink. It's part of the deal.
Yeah.
My legs are tired. Going through all those waves is like calf workout.
Yeah. It's pretty protected though once we stayed in near the coast. Not as bad. We are going to leave Agua Verde. Maisha is still not feeling well. She doesn't want to get up to go to the bathroom or just get up in general. So we gotta head to the vet and see what's going on with her. So the day after we got down to Agua Verde, Maisha started to not feel good. She was like weak in her back legs. She's still eating, drinking and stuff, but hesitant to get up. And then we gave her a rest day yesterday and just didn't want her to really move around too much. We didn't take her for a walk. We just wanted her to relax, because we thought maybe because the road down here. It's 40 kilometers of dirt, gravelly road that maybe that really tired her out because she was sitting up the whole entire time and kind of counterbalancing, so maybe she was achy and sore. But today she hasn't even gotten up out of bed. She didn't eat this morning. She's still drinking water, so we just thought it was the best thing to leave Agua Verde, get to the closest veterinarian, which is actually a ways away. We think it's going to take us probably 4 hours to get there, and just have them check her out, maybe give her some pain meds if she's achy, or just make sure that nothing else is going on with her. So we are leaving this paradise to make sure our little baby is okay, because as much as we're here to have fun, anytime you bring a dog along with you, they're your first priority. So we can always come back to Agua Verde. So we got to the clinic in Ciudad Const. I don't even know the name of the town. I can't think right now. They found out that Maisha has a fever, and as we were driving the 3.5-4 hours to get here, her face started swelling as well, and her tongue was swollen. So they're putting her on an IV. They do know that she's diabetic, and they're doing some blood tests, but they think we're gonna have to drive her to La Paz, which is another 2.5 hours. So they're just trying to get her stable right now so that we can get her to La Paz tonight, and hopefully everything will be okay. So the first vet did everything they can. Her fever's dropped a little bit. Her face is still really swollen, and they want us to basically drive to La Paz, which we're fine doing that, because they have an animal hospital that's open 24 hours, and they're gonna give her an IV and fluids and medicine all night long to help break her fever and get her glucose in check. They also said her calcium levels are low after they did the blood work. So we're gonna take her there. They're gonna be able to monitor all night long, and she can stay there as long as she needs to. The only problem with that is La Paz is 2.5 hours away. It is recommended to not drive at night when you're in Baja, and I understand why.
The sun set 4 minutes ago.
The sun set 4 minutes ago. The roads can be a little tricky when it's dark, and drivers tend to be a little crazy, but we have to get her to the hospital because she isn't drinking or eating anything, and because she is diabetic. Her glucose is through the roof right now, so the best thing for her is to get an IV, so she's getting some nutrition into her, and that's not throwing her off even more. So wish us luck. We are heading there now, and hopefully we get there in a smooth 2.5 hours so she can get the attention she needs.
So this is a vlog that we were not looking forward to doing at all.
So this was supposed to be a vlog about how beautiful Agua Verde is, and our plans changed very quickly.
When we got up that morning, she did not want to get out of bed to even go outside to go to the bathroom, let alone eat, let alone do pretty much anything except for drink water. And if she was going to drink water, we had to basically put it right in her face. She wasn't moving around to get to anything. So that's when we knew something was going down. So we had done our homework ahead of time. We knew that there were two options for vets. in our proximity, which was not close. Agua Verde is basically in the middle of nowhere in Baja, so it's probably the last place you want to be if you have to take your animal to the vet. And that was just our luck, unfortunately. But Ciudad de Constitucion, if I'm saying that properly, was the closest town that had a vet. So that was our goal, was to get to that town and get her to that vet and have our fingers crossed that they were actually open the day after Christmas and see if they could see what was going on.
So we did get there. It took us 4 hours to get her there. We got her there around noon. They noticed that she had a fever, and as we were driving out of Agua Verde, I noticed that her face and her tongue started to swell. And so she was lethargic and she was reacting to something, and we didn't know what she was reacting to. So when they got her there, they basically did a blood panel, and then they checked that she had a fever, so they were putting cold towels on her to help break the fever, and they didn't know what was causing the swelling in the face and the tongue, so they did put her on IV, and they checked her glucose as well, and it was really high. It was like in the 500s.
Yep. So their primary goal was to stabilize her, which meant fluids, dropping the temperature, and they did administer some medicine for the swelling of the face and the tongue and to try to get that down.
They gave her like an antihistamine, which it was bringing down the swelling.
Yep, so we did see a little bit of a difference in the swelling. It didn't completely go away. They did bring her temperature down to an acceptable level. She got a round of IV, and then they actually suggested that we drive to La Paz, which is the biggest city in that region, to take her to 24-hour animal hospital, animal care. And so we did. So we definitely did what we could. I drove as fast as reasonably possible to get her to La Paz, and we did get her to the vet that we had been recommended. And when we got her there, it was kind of a situation where they went through the same routine, which as they should. They checked her temperature. Temperature was high again, so her fever had heated back up. Her diabetes was, glucose levels were still high, so those were still way in an uncomfortable range. She still had the face swelling, so they did the blood panels, they did ultrasound, and they even did an x-ray because they were really trying to get to the bottom of kind of all the pieces, because there was a lot of moving parts happening at the same time.
So they did an ultrasound to check all of her vital organs, and then that's when they found a tumor on her liver, and they said that was like 60% of her liver. But at that point they weren't too concerned about that because that's not the highest priority.
Yeah, and that was actually new information for us. We had never had any results or anything from a vet that actually indicated that she had a liver problem up until that point. And the month before we left for Baja, we took her for a
senior wellness exam to get all of her blood work done, just to make sure she was healthy before we brought her all the way down here.
Yeah, because we never would have brought her down here if we knew there was anything like that going on behind the scenes.
And with her being diabetic, we just wanted to be overly cautious to make sure everything was fine.
Yeah, we went to great lengths to make sure that she was comfortable and that we were going to be able to take good care of her while we were in Baja. I mean, we brought extra food, we brought all the needles for her diabetic shots she gets twice a day. We got all the bottles of insulin ahead of time and had them in the fridge so that we didn't have to try to find any in Baja if we ran out or needed more. But anyway, so they had basically the three things that they were contending with, which was the fever, the allergic reaction, which we never saw anything, so we didn't know if she got stung. They were asking a lot of questions, if she ate anything or if she got stung by anything, and we didn't see anything.
I think they thought it was like a bee sting or an insect bite or something like that.
Like a
So
spider or a hornet.
They weren't like too concerned. Like the swollen face was like the least of their concerns at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't restricting her breathing at that point or anything like that. So basically they wanted to get her temperature down so she wasn't having a fever anymore, and they wanted to stabilize her glucose levels, which were pretty much off the charts, even though we were giving her her normal daily insulin.
So they did collect some urine, and there was ketones in her urine, so they said that she had ketoacidosis, and it was high, but if she was on an IV for like a day or two, that they thought that they were going to be able to bring it back down in check.
Yeah, the levels were on the borderline of being critical. He explained to us the levels, and we were just a hair under absolute critical levels. But he was confident that he could get them down with fluids, and that typically worked. So he felt pretty comfortable when we left that evening to go sleep outside in our van. We did not go anywhere. That evening we stayed right in the van, right outside the vet, just to be there for her. And she was under 24-hour care, so there was a veterinary doctor who was with her the entire evening, administering fluids, doing the cold towels, and monitoring her vitals. And so we were basically under the impression that that night when we went to bed, that the next morning we would wake up and check her progress, see how she's doing. I was doing research about finding hotels or Airbnbs that we could probably hole up in for a week and really just let her, relax and chill and have space and air conditioning and whatever she needed to get better. But that's not how it played out. After one phone call in the middle of the night that she had low blood pressure, to the point that they did have to administer medication. That was the first phone call. And then around 5:15 that morning, we had gotten a phone call that she had passed from cardiac arrest. So something in the, I've been calling it the cocktail of things that she was dealing with in that particular moment, was too much for her. And we lost our baby. So we decided that we were not going to stay in La Paz. We stayed for another day or two, basically because we didn't know what to do with ourselves. Certainly not in the mood to travel, certainly not in the mood to do any tours, not in the mood to eat out, not in the holiday spirit. Unfortunately, it was Christmas through basically New Year's that we were going to be there. And we just really kind of holed up, and we're doing a lot of thinking about what do we do. We're still doing that. We're shooting this 7 days later. And that's really kind of how long it took us to get comfortable trying to have a conversation like this. It would have been waterworks if we did it within a couple of days after it happened. But it's really tough stuff. Dre's having a really hard time, so I'm doing all the talking. But if you travel with your dog in a van like we do, you can't imagine all of the things on a daily basis that all of a sudden don't exist, or that you don't have to do, and that make you miss your dog. I mean, our van has a nook in it specifically for the dog, so her dog bed, her toys, her blankets, they're all right there. We haven't touched them or moved them. That's a constant reminder. The sounds, just the existence of your dog, the breathing, the snoring, the drinking of the water, the nails on the floor. It's just unbelievable how quiet it is after you don't have them anymore. So it's hard to talk about. It's hard to find the right words. It's hard to explain. It's not the first time that we've lost a dog, but it's not any easier than in the past. And we've been kind of stuck in this holding pattern of still trying to figure out, what do we do? Do we keep traveling? Doesn't really feel right. I mean, we'd never personally not want to travel, but do we keep traveling without our dog? Do we stay on the same path and try to do all the same things and it just doesn't feel the same? Or do you put it on pause and do you cancel it? Do you go home? What do you do? We're still trying to work that out in our heads. No matter what you say or think you should go do, it doesn't change how you feel. So that's the tough part. So, because we were 4,000 miles away from home, we didn't have the option to bring Maisha home, so we did have to opt to have her cremated. So we had to stay in town for a day or two to get her remains.
The plan was to always have her buried next to her brother that died 3 years ago, and we didn't have a choice, so we had to have her cremated. But she's still gonna be next to him.
Yeah, we're gonna bring her back with us, obviously, from this trip, and we're gonna bury her ashes right next to him.
But we basically have spent over a week not really knowing what we're gonna do. I don't know if anything will like necessarily make us feel better, or if it just like changing it up and leaving Baja and just going somewhere else will, you know, hurt a little bit less. I don't know. So this could be the end of the Baja series, but we're just kind of floating right now and trying to make a decision on what we're trying to do, because it just doesn't feel right being here without her, but I'm not sure if anywhere we go is gonna feel right, so we don't want to decide too quickly and then leave and then wish we stayed. So,
and just to put it into perspective, I mean, we haven't been in a situation where we haven't had a dog in over 18 years. So this is kind of a all new territory for us at the moment. We're used to having to take care of one of our puppies, and right now we don't have one to take care of. So we're outside of the Guau wash and veterinarian site. So we're going to be dropping off a full 32 or 36 pound bag of dog food and half of the same size bag of dog food, and hopefully that helps some puppies when they're under care. And then this little bit we're going to keep in the van, and we're going to try to spoil some street dogs that look like they're in need. It's got maybe a half a bag of that. And a full 34 pounds, maybe 40-45 pounds worth of food. All right, so we just dropped off 40 to 45 pounds of Maisha's dry food and about 15 containers of soft food, and they even wanted the Desiquin, which is for joint supplement for older dogs with hip problems and things of that nature. So that's done, and now we're gonna go and get Maisha. So the dog tour house is the veterinarian we used in La Paz, and we just picked up Maisha's ashes, and we have nothing but good things to say about the vet. Top notch. They spoke very good English, and they took very good care of Maisha. Anytime we see a little pupperoni that looks hungry, Dre is giving them Maisha treats and a little bit of dog food that we have on hand. So it's our mission at the moment. Makes us happy just to pay it forward as much as we can. There's Dre giving a local puppy some of Maisha's treats. This poor little guy. He looks hungry and thirsty, so we're trying to give him a little bit of both. There you go, bud. So, unfortunately, that's where this one ends for now, until we figure out what we're going to do.